always said, let's try to get Valenti to talk about Ben Johnson because we don't really know much about his personality. So Mike Valenti taking time to join Waddle and Silvy on ESPN 1000. How's that intro for you?
I'm blushing. Where do I send the check? My goodness.
Yeah. Well,
thank you.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate you. And
he makes a lot of people blush, Mike. He really does.
I know. I was going to say, listen, as a favor, you can pay me back. You want to take Javi Baez back, please?
No.
Well said.
Just in the Cubs Hall of Fame one day, but not on the baseball field. That's for sure.
Not in mine.
Yeah.
Go ahead. So what can I do for you?
I can imagine. All right. Well, tell us. We know what Ben Johnson provides as an offensive coordinator. What we have always wanted to know, Mike, is what kind of guy he is. And like, you understand this business. How do you project him as a head coach, as a front of the room guy?
Yeah, I think, it's tough when you coach, you're under Dan Campbell because he's such a forward facing personality, right? He takes the oxygen in the room, but Ben is maniacal. He'll cuss out everybody within a 10-foot radius. He's intense, creative. And look, analytics are going to drive it, which that's great because that's where the sport's going. So I hope Bear fans are ready for every fourth down is going to be in play. From the football standpoint, he's a stickler for details. I think that's the one question I would have is like, Caleb does a lot of things off script. Ben's going to demand he do it on script. Running game will be prioritized big time on protections. But no, look, he's intense. I think he fits City of Chicago perfectly. You're not getting one of these nerdy assistant guys, right? You're not getting one of these weird, Mike McDaniel type guys. He's intense. He is.
Mike, is there any chance he poaches some of the existing Lions offensive staff and brings them with him?
Sure. Absolutely. It's all in play. And this is what kills me is like, and obviously, like, I'm originally from New York and I'm a Giants fan and I'm open with my audience about it and I shoot them straight. And it's like Lion fans were like in Dreamville. Oh, Ben likes his local grocery store. He won't leave. I go, guys, you need to get with the program. Part of getting good is people want your people. So yes, I would be surprised if he didn't. And ultimately, look, the Lions have built a nice culture here, and they've got this thing turned around outside of showing their ass Saturday. But overall, yeah, you're gonna lose people. So I think Aaron Glenn's gone too, by the way. But it's just you got the guy. For once, the Bears finally did what made sense. You drafted a quarterback number 1 overall. I have no understanding why Eberflus was ever retained. Mm-hmm. And now you've paired the number 1 overall pick with the number 1 offensive mind. If it doesn't work, you don't have any regrets. Nobody can criticize this, right? There's no holes in this guy's game. He has turned the Detroit Lions. Think about this. If I said this to you 3 years ago, we would have laughed ourselves out of the building. He's turned the Detroit football Lions with Jared Goff as their quarterback into the number 1 offense in football. Yeah, you hire that guy. Mm-hmm. He's modern. He's aggressive. And look, Lord knows, Bears need to fix this O-line or Caleb's going to die in about 2.5 years. Mm-hmm. It's the perfect guy for the gig. Will it work? Will it not? I have no idea. But I commend the Bears for the hire. It's bold. And you're hurting a team in division while helping yourself. It's brilliant.
Yeah, look, we see things a lot the same way. What Eberflus did against the Lions, you saw firsthand, Mike. Last year,
his soul leave his body. Yes, that was unbelievable.
Yeah, not just the clock issue this year. Last year, the Bears led, I think it was 12 with like 3 minutes and 50 seconds left, and the defense couldn't finish the job there too. We couldn't believe that they kept him, and they did it again with the quarterback. But here's my question, and there are a couple of things that people bring up here. You mentioned offensive line. And they're like, oh, yeah, let's see him do this in Chicago with the Bears offensive line. Don't you believe that Ben Johnson understands this and will go to the general manager, Ryan Poles, and say, we need to do everything we can to build this offensive line up?
100%. And look, a lot of what he does pre-snap can help with those things. Like, I think one of the big misnomers is, for the last few years, oh, San Francisco's got a great O-line. No, not really. They have Trent Williams and then a bunch of other people. And Shanahan with pre-snap candy and the weapons that are in place. and you're kind of able to nurse it along, right? Fake it till you make it. A lot of that took place here. I mean, Ben has built this thing, and as the offensive line has gotten better, he has simply elevated it now to the top of the league. But yes, I think you're going to see everything has intent. His sequencing is unbelievable. Like when you get into, hey, we ran a variation of that earlier, and now we're branching off of that and doing this later. He has trick plays for the trick plays he runs. That's the other thing. Fans are going to be driven to madness if they don't like trick plays. So you better just accept it. You're going to be doing all kinds of pitchy, woo-woo stuff. But that's his deal. And it's unpredictable. They spread the ball around. And I think, look, that was my one question. And I would put it to you guys is, look, the Bears, everybody, if they just stick to their job, this will work. But you can't have meddling, right? The thing the Lions did that got this thing on, it was this singular focus, right? It was just from top down, from Spielman and from Brad Holmes on to Dan Campbell, on to the staff. You see it in these organizations that where everybody wants to do a little meddling or do a little bit of this. As long as people stay out of this guy's way, and if Ryan Poles and him can have a symbiotic relationship and they can hear each other's feedback and they can, trust their own process, I think it'll work. I think Caleb is too talented for it not to work. It's just the one thing is Caleb has played undisciplined football at USC. Part of that he had to. The offensive line was morbid, and then he got more of that with the Bears. I think Ben Johnson's going to drill down on the run game, and he will make things easier for Caleb. As long as Caleb is willing to hear that message and doesn't want to do a bunch of pirouettes and, Fran Tarkenton stuff, this should work. I'm shocked the Bears actually made the big boy move because they never do.
Yeah. It's so cool to hear you say that. Mike Valenti joining us, Waddle and Silvy on ESPN 1000. You mentioned the trick plays. How are you feeling about the trick play they ran in the fourth quarter?
I just got off the air slandering that and going empty set on 3rd and 1 when you're averaging 8 yards a carry. No, look, I thought, part of this is the double-edged sword of the way the Lions play, right? Like they don't want to just beat you; they want to humiliate you. But I was the villain the last few weeks because I told fans, I go, guys, your defense isn't good enough to win a Super Bowl. These injuries have taken that away. Is it possible? Yes, but it's not anything I think that's plausible. But then they drew the Commanders. And I mean, guys, I had people calling the show and it was like, remember Chuck Schwarsky, the super fans on SNL?
Yeah.
Bears 56, Giants 2. And it was literally, I'm like, guys, you're not getting it. Like this team's dangerous and they have nothing to lose. And you saw Vic in 2002 in Lambeau. You saw Kaepernick in 2012 at Lambeau. Once a decade, one of these young, mobile, unicorn quarterbacks, they bust somebody's ass. And here the Lions went out, and I felt like the team, the staff, everybody, it just looked sloppy. It looked loose. And when the Commanders punched him in the face, they didn't have a counter because they never planned on getting hit. And it just spiraled. And I just don't think they did a good job of being prepared for this at all.
Are you part of the crew that now believes Jaden Daniels is one of the best rookies that we've seen in modern sports?
Yes. I'm also a bitter Giants fan who will hate Tommy DeVito the rest of his life because we were supposed to take Jaden Daniels. So, yes, I have lots of emotions about Jaden Daniels.
Mike, where was your money prior to this announcement today on where Ben Johnson was going to go? You got Tom Brady in Vegas flashing his pearly whites. You had Jacksonville potentially working down there. Was your money on the Bears or no?
No, just because they never interviewed him in person. And it's almost unheard of in today's game to not interview someone and just back channel and let's do a Zoom cocktail hour. Like that's not how it works. From the beginning, the most sensible destination was the Bears, followed by Jacksonville, right? The Vegas thing was just the media reports and this idea that Brady had an allure. And I'm like, well, that doesn't make any sense. They don't have a pathway to a quarterback. I think it just ended up the way it needed to, which is this is the best job. The Bears clearly, and I don't know if financial details have broken in the last 20 minutes, forgive me, but clearly the Bears dropped the bag and gave him the assurances he needed that there's not going to be too many cooks in the kitchen. And this is the place. They have the weapons. They have the quarterback, right? And automatically, in today's game, if you're not hiring an offensive coach or at least a defensive coach who hires an elite OC, like you've seen Dan Quinn hire Kingsbury. Kingsbury, bad head coach, great offensive coordinator. If you're not doing that, you're not playing the same sport. So from a football standpoint, yeah, this was always the number one. It just didn't seem like it was going to happen.
So just to reiterate, not a nerdy guy, one of these guys who could be a red ass, and he's going to coach Caleb hard.
Yes. On all levels. Yeah.
Checks 100%. Every box.
Yeah.
And I think it fits the city.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not telling you he looks like Dan Campbell or sounds like Dan Campbell. I mean, DC is one of one. That dude's built like he can still play. I mean, his earlobes connect right to his traps. But this guy is intense, man. And he's going to demand excellence. So I think that's great for a young team that just is rudderless, right? The Bears have just looked rudderless. So, yeah, I wouldn't be shocked at all if the Bears just flip the switch, boom, next year come out, win double-digit games, go to the playoffs. Wow. They have the talent. They just had a zero coach in the team.
How much of an impact do you think this ultimately will have on the Lions in 2025? Like, can you see them taking a significant step back, losing both coordinators?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I mean, first of all, factually, no team that's ever lost both coordinators has ever gone on to win the Super Bowl the next year. And I know that can be a little anecdotal, but look, you're losing the architect of the best offense, and then who are you filling it with? And then again, you're going to lose your defensive coordinator, and there's going to be a lot of change here anyways. There's a lot of pieces that have to get swapped out, fixed. So, yeah, I think there's a good shot the Lions take a step back. But look, guys, let's be fair. They went 15-2, right? Mm-hmm. So let's say they go 11-6 or 12-5. Like, it's not a terrible step back. This is still a division that had 3 playoff teams go 40-11. So, yes, I think a step back is natural, but could it be really bad? Like what happened to Philly, last year where you lose both coordinators and then the season tanks? I mean, it's the NFL. You guys know how difficult this is. The sport is designed for you to fail. So, yeah, I think there's – but again, people here, believe me, guys, I've got a couple months of therapy with my audience ahead. This is going to take time for me to be able to say these things and not have people hate my guts. It's going to be an exciting spring.
I would love for Ben to pluck Hank Fraley from from the Detroit Lions roster as well and bring him to Chicago.
Yeah, he's done a great job with the O-line. He has. And look, what Fraley's really kind of getting a rep for as well is some of the developmental pieces. Like you saw Christian Mahogany start at guard because Zeitler was out. Mahogany, he's going to be a starter next year. He's really good. He graded out as their best lineman Saturday night. They've got this Coyote Ashoka kid who's played guard and played some tackle, another developmental guy, and he's played really well when he's been asked to play. So, yes, Fraley is a guy I think everybody wants. Look, if you put enough money out there, you can get anybody you want.
The Bears are finally
doing
money
for Ben. You may as well buy dessert.
Yeah, the report, I guess, that Pro Football Talk is saying that they're hearing Florio is hearing like $13 million, which is pretty good for a first-time head coach.
I'd say so, but again, when the Bears should be, and I know you guys probably say this all the time. It's just the Bears should be one of the 5 best jobs in the league. It should be. It's one of the Tiffany franchises, but unfortunately, it's a lot like my Giants. It's a lot like the Cowboys. It hasn't been run like a serious multi-billion-dollar business. It's been run like a family lemonade stand.
Yeah.
And you see it with the Maras and you see it with the Jones. And look, I'll be candid. I mean, yeah, the Steelers are just good enough to win nothing. Right. The Rooneys do the same thing. You're either all in or you're just not serious. So this is a serious move. And for all the slander the Bears rightfully take, this is one I think people got to tip their cap and go, you know what?
And at the end of the day, $13 million is couch change for an NFL franchise. It just is.
Exactly. I never understand the cost-saving measures. They're not running a hot dog stand, and they need to change what hot dog they buy, to save a nickel. Like, what are we doing? You're making money hand over fist. They're selling these games to streaming platforms for $150 million a pop. Like, come on, guys. What are we doing? Spend the money.
Yeah. Mike, great work as always. Thank you for picking up the phone. Big fan of your work, and all the best to you.
Thanks, Mike.
Same to you guys. You got it.
There you
Bye-bye.
go. There's Mike Valenti.